Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an expert in the science of retail from New York, USA, Mr. Bob Phibbs. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Bob is the retail doctor, and he is there to transform store performance through strategic sales training. His mission is to make every retail encounter a moment of genuine human connection, one conversation at a time. So, Bob, my first question, how did your early experiences in retail shape your passion for transforming customer service?
Oh my goodness. Well, I put myself through college selling shoes, so I pretty much learned I had to make someone else's day if I was going to get paid. So that kind of gives you a priority in life that it's not all about you, which I think more people need to do. I sold, I had a newspaper route in the United States, and I sold greeting cards in the summer that you could personalize and deliver them in November. And I don't come from entrepreneurs. That's what's funny. My mom was a school teacher for, I don't know, 50, 60 years. My dad was a pastor and a social justice warrior, I guess you'd say, marched with Martin Luther King and others in the 60s. And so, my mom, even until I don't know, 5 years before she passed, she's like, "How's that speaking thing working out?" Like this random thing that I was doing, and I just said, "Well, it's working out really well," because I also got my degree as a conductor. So I went through college expecting to be a music conductor,
Wow.
and there's nothing more personal than the voice.
Correct.
And I actually worked, I did some workshops around in Los Angeles where I lived, and it was, I can teach anyone to sing. And invariably, you'd get 5 or 6 people, and they'd be so quiet. And I would teach them, anyone can match pitch. And then so I would say, "So tell me what happened." And they'd say, "Oh, when I was in elementary school, someone told me I can't sing and I should shut up." And that really informed, I think, my life's work as a retail doctor, because I think a lot of people in retail have gone mute at a time when we are going into stores. We want to go through and connect. And the only way that's going to happen is your voice. It can't happen with your thumb.
Correct.
And that's really a lost skill. And I think an awful lot of people are scratching their heads saying, how are you going to get, kids off of texting so much? And it's simple. The great normalizer is retail. Retail, you learn it's about someone else, not you, or you're out. Right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
You know that from your experience
Yeah.
building a chain of pharmacies, for
15
goodness
years,
sake.
15 years a retailer.
Yeah.
Bob, looking back, what has been your most challenging or defining moment as an entrepreneur and a thought leader?
It's 2008.
Hmm.
I found a letter from my dad that I said to him saying, I'm going to move to the Mid-Hudson Valley by the time I'm 40 and retire. I've never been there, but I hear it really looks good. And I'm reading this when I'm 50 in Los Angeles. So we decide to go and look for a house in upstate New York. So we find this house, we put an offer in, we buy it. Meanwhile, we have a house in California that's not selling. It's been on the market for a year, and it's frustrating. So the night before it's supposed to close, the guy who's supposed to buy the house says, "What if I don't buy it?" And I said, "If you don't buy it, I will lock this away. You will never have a chance to buy it." Because I knew him and his wife loved it. And I said, "I think we should just continue with what we said." So they signed it. 2 days later is when the stock market fell.
Wow.
I came back to New York, and I lost 4 of my major clients within 2 weeks. And I called one of them, and I said, "Hey, Donna, it's Bob. Hey, I know things are rocky, but I'm just curious when your next set of speeches will be with me." And she goes, "Well, Bob, let me tell you something. our engineers are striping all of the floors in the warehouses. Now, remember, Bob, the warehouses are the size of football fields, right? She said, because our owner said no one is going to be laid off during this downturn. And she goes, the only reason they can do that is because we don't have a single order in the warehouses.
Wow.
We aren't going to see you easily for 10 or 15 years.
Amazing.
And I was like, oh my God. So that's going along. And I don't have my online retail sales training program up yet, SalesRX. And the only way I made money was going out to the world and telling them what to do, right? So I said, I've got to get around this because all I could see was failure. And so I went back to my roots when I was first starting out, and I was probably 17, and I discovered a recording by Earl Nightingale. It was called The Strangest Secret. It is on YouTube now. You can hear me. Sounds like your grandfather. And it's the number one motivational recording ever made. I mean, everybody points back to it. And his simple idea is that we're about as happy as we make our minds up to be.
Correct.
And I listened to that recording easily 25 times a day for months. And I said, I have got to get over this because the news didn't get any better in the United States. It just kept piling on. And eventually I got through that. And I always think back to, I think, the danger for an awful lot of brands is we look for some distraction out there. Oh, well, you know, it'll come back when it comes back. And we figure we can just make this all happen. And we forget the only one that's going to happen is you. If you don't get you behind you and say, like, you know, I'm going to give up the feeling that the past could be any different. Like, whatever I did to get ready for this or didn't get ready for this, it doesn't matter. I'm here now. And if I understand that, then I can say, all right, there's something I need to learn here. And for me, that learning was I just need to own it. And so I started meditating. I started working out. I did. I would go out and watch a bird for a half hour. Anything I could do to focus the mind to say, that's where we need to go. And then just start asking myself better questions. So what am I going to do when this changes? What do I need to do with my business model so that I don't end up here again? What would happen if I tried different things? And that's how ultimately I ended up coming up with my online retail sales training program, which thank goodness, COVID hit and it was the same thing, except this time it was worse. The world was locked down. It wasn't just a little downturn. And so when we came out of that, a lot of people came to SalesRX because they realized they needed it. And so I thanked my older self for having learned that lesson so that future self could enjoy the reward of it,
Fascinating. Let's talk now about the retail doctor. What core problem did you set out to solve when you founded the retail doctor?
I needed to make a living. I was selling apparel in Los Angeles for about 15 years. I'm at a meeting with I was up at the top of the game, and we were in a meeting. There's like 55 people there, and the owner asked one question, and the question was, "What's a company's greatest asset?" And I said, "Oh, that's easy. It's employees." And he said, "Wrong." And I was like, "Wrong?" And it goes around the room. Nobody can get the answer. No one understands it. And so he gets to the end and he goes, "It's customers." And I was like, "Huh, okay." So I went down to his office and I said, "Customers can go anywhere. We built this company based on people. And something's changed. And I'm out in 2 weeks." And I quit. I had no idea what I was going to do. I licked my wounds for a few months, felt bad. And I went to a Tony Robbins seminar at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles. He was only doing one-day events there. He didn't do the firewalk yet. And I walked away from after a day with him, and he said, "You better come up with a brand nobody can do better than you." And I came home and I filed the trademark for the retail doctor because I knew I could do it. I was like, I've done this for a company. I can do this for anybody.
Correct.
And within a few months, there was a little story in the local paper about a little coffee roaster, and he'd been in business 25 years, and they're about to put a Starbucks 100 feet from his front door. And so I went in there one night, and it was kind of dirty, and the employees are leaning on the counter, and like, when that second Starbucks opens, this place will be gone. I've already put my application in for other places. And so I said, I got to help this guy. So I went down, I met with him one day, and I said, so Mike, what are you going to do when that second Starbucks opens next to you? Because I'm going to send him back to Seattle. I said, how are you
Mm.
going to do that? He said, I haven't got a clue.
Wow.
And from that, we remade his business, went up 50% the first year, 40% the next. At that point, I called the local papers. I go, hey, would you this story? Got some interest in the local story. And then I said, you know what? This is a bigger story. So I called up the New York Times business editor and I said, hey, are you interested in a story about how the little guy beat the big guy? And they said, we are.
Mm.
And so I got an interview in July, and I'm speaking in October in New York. And I go downstairs, and I pick up the New York Times, and I flip it over. There's a color picture of me and Mike, and I open up to the business section. The entire top says "Meet the Category Killer," and that was me.
Wow.
And that was my entry to a lot of the world that the retail doc was there, and that led to
Mm.
business makeovers for the Los Angeles Times and books and speeches, etc. But that was a defining moment, was leaving that job to say, no, I'm not going to support that. Believing in myself enough, I'll figure this out. And
Mm.
then, hey, you got to crow, and that's my message to any of you that do any kind of consulting or advisory work. You have to hit it out of the park, or else you're
Correct.
just a guy or a
Correct.
gal with an opinion, and they don't pay for that.
Correct. Very well said. What a great story. Thank you. Tell me, what inspired you to create Sales RX and how has it evolved since you launched it?
Oh, it's a great question. Well, SalesRX, for example, Hunter Douglas used to present me for 3-day events with their dealers around the United States for several years. And
Mm.
invariably, someone would come up to the end and say, hey, Bob, this has been really great. How do I bring this back to my crew? And I'd be like,
Mm.
buy my book. And I knew that wasn't satisfactory. And so this company that had developed training for the government had just started, and their whole thing is they made interactive videos, which mean if this is SalesRX right now, I might say something like, and that's why you end up mowing a lawn left to right instead of right to left. Now, what did I just say? And you have to make a choice, left to right or right to left. If you don't make a choice on that button,
Mm.
I'm just going to sit there and look at you, or I'm going to nod my head or eat a Dorito or something. And because we know the brain doesn't work, if you don't make a choice, if I don't keep your brain going,
Mm.
it's going to become passive and you're not going to learn anything. So I
Mm.
was excited about that technology because for years I said, there's no way I could teach this online.
Mm.
And our first iteration, I think we had 12 lessons, and that was about 11 years ago. I have some of our first people are still with me.
Mhm.
We've had 4 redos of it, but the most exciting was just a few months ago, we launched Sidekick Rex, and Sidekick Rex is our AI role play. So you go in and you take a lesson with me, it's about 3 to 5 minutes, and then you go into an actual role play, and you're talking to the computer, and you tell it, this is what I sell and where I sell it, it's got it, and you're talking to the computer, then you get a scorecard, and then you go to a quiz about what you learned. So we've
Mm.
removed the whole idea of, well, take a step back. If people don't practice, they don't learn. And so even if I had great content and a quiz, if they didn't practice it with their manager, it would just go away. Well, now we at least had a chance to practice it and prove it. And we just had a 100 store chain in not far from you in Australia and New Zealand, a
Mhm.
clothing store. They had a 23% increase in conversions and a 13% increase in sales.
Mm.
And a luxury timepiece brand I know you would know very well, who reported they had I think I think it was like they just told it's like 30 it's something unbelievable. It's 35% increase in the summer, which was always their worst month.
Right.
And several of their employees doubled, and they were like, we're just really looking forward to the holidays. So I
Mm.
know it works, and it works across the country, it goes across the world, because we talk to people in a certain way in a store, right? It's just like a movie. You have to meet the character. There's got to be something you bond about them, right? You care if Reese Witherspoon does something or she doesn't,
Yeah.
or Julia Roberts. She wants the guy, hates the guy, whatever. And then they get together, and then there's a little bit of conflict, and it's resolved. That's how a movie is. If you don't follow those steps, you walk out, you
Correct.
flip off, right? It's the same thing in a store, right? If I
Correct.
don't greet you to begin with, and I don't bond with you, you're not a friend, and you didn't earn the right to sell this merchandise to
Yeah.
me. And so,
Yeah.
unless you do that first, you're going to have a really hard time and you're going to get caught in price, and getting caught in price is
Mm,
never works,
mm,
right? So all of that comes down to the world's hungry for a framework, and that's
correct.
why SalesRX works. And
Absolutely.
more importantly, that's why I think we can change the world by the people working in shopping and retail, just
Mm,
because we're teaching them this is how you talk to another human being. Oh, and by the way, we're going to sell you something in the store. But if you master that, one guy said, "You made a difference in my marriage." I was like,
mm,
"Great,
mm.
as long as you can use the information, right?"
Great response. Thank you. You also state that technology, which is everywhere now, should support, not replace human connection.
Yeah.
How can retailers strike this balance?
Well, that's a great question. I think AI is phenomenal. I mean, I use 9 or 10 different tools on the back end. I think a lot of retailers are doing it on the back end as well, and that's great. The danger right now is people are saying, "Oh, we need to put that into the sales floor." And I think the more you make your store like a website, the less you're going to do, for a simple reason that, look, would it shock you to know that 80% of sales are still done in a brick and mortar store? I
Mm,
mean, yeah, people are running headlong. Oh my gosh, we got to get more online. It still only converts at 3 or 4%,
correct.
and it only gets maybe 20%. I don't know necessarily what it is in India, but around the world, it's still stuck at 20.
Correct.
And as much as the people say, "Oh, it's going to be 40 and 50," I don't think so, because people still crave that human connection. And
Mm,
so if it supports that, if you walk in the door and my phone beeps and says, "Oh, here is Ashtush, and he's bought a size 34 pant, and he has a pinstripe suit and all that," like, you don't have the right to see that, because you don't even. I mean,
correct.
if I was your salesperson, and I'd sold you your last outfit, that might be interesting, right? Because then you could say, "Hey, I bought that suit. Does this go with it?" And I go like, "Oh yeah, that does." That would support it. But I think the vast majority of technology is trying to figure out, how do we keep less humans talking to humans. And I think that's why, in particular, I'm in the United States, which, if you haven't watched, is you know incredible polarization,
Mm,
because it's all about you're different than I am in America. And I think the world was founded on, it doesn't matter if I
mm,
like you, I'm curious about you. And that's what retail should be, which
mm.
is, I'm curious. Well, AI isn't going to help us with that. AI is going to tell you, I scanned this guy's face. He's
Correct.
middle aged. He's stressed. He's this and this. Give him a drink, or whatever it's going to be. And
Mm,
then we're just rats to the cheese,
yeah.
right? Because it seems like we're moving to a world where we're supposed to serve AI.
Mm,
That's where my problem is. I don't
absolutely.
think that it should be telling us what to do. We should be
Amazing.
telling it.
Amazing. Bob, what do you see as the biggest shift happening in retail over the next few years?
Well, it's interesting. Again, my experience is obviously based in the U.S., but
Yeah.
I've spoken in 16 countries. Anyone listening, you can get me to India. That would be great. I'm off to China here soon, so there you go. I think in the go-go 80s, it was about how many malls can you build, certainly in the United States. And
Mm,
so on the throughways, on the freeways, I'm not sure what you call it, but the main highways through
mm,
your
mm.
country,
Yeah.
it would be like at every off ramp, it would be 3 or 4 retailers on every off ramp, and because
Correct.
money was so cheap, it's like, why not? Well,
Mm,
the problem is there was never that much demand, and
mm,
so they turned around a lot. They don't make a lot of money. Then came the early aughts, and oh, we're going to make beautiful stores. The stores are going to be amazing, right? We're going to put more marble and glass and all this other really wonderful stuff. Wonderful.
mm,
Well,
mm.
now in 2026, people seem to have come back to the idea that, oh, we forgot the people. So it seems
Yeah.
that we are seeing a more focused attention on training and understanding that what's happened in the last, certainly since COVID, has been managers been managing tasks,
Mm,
not developing people. If you look at
mm,
a Lululemon, you look at some of the Starbucks, you look at some of the bigger brands, they realize they got to develop people. Walmart, 10 years ago made a groundbreaking decision. They were going to open 100 training centers across the US. The stock
Mm.
dropped. People were like, what a waste of time. Well,
Mm.
look what it ended up doing for them is they
Yeah,
realized we got to get our people to be better.
mm.
And, Walmart manager can make a $500,000 now.
Yeah,
They're serious about it.
absolutely. Well said. You also coach retailers to avoid the discount trap and focus on genuine value. Tell me a little bit more about this and give me an example if you can.
Well, that was my first book was You Can Compete Double Sales Without Discounting. That first client of mine I was telling you
Mm.
about, Mike Sheldrake, he was Polly's Gourmet Coffee. When I met him, he had a little coupon in the paper, and you could get, well, let me go back. He roasts all of his own coffee. So, and he's one of the founding members, especially Coffee Association. He's the big guy in coffee, right?
Mm.
And he had this little coupon that for a penny you could get a pound of his coffee that should have at that time gone for about $10 a pound. And he thought that was great marketing. And I said, "Dude, you owe more than you're selling in your in
Mm.
store. We have to stop this immediately."
Mm.
And he said, "But that's how I bring them in." I go, "No, that's how you attract a discount customer. They'll pay
Mm.
more if you give more." And he said, "Okay, well, sales." We stopped that, and we found out his employees were stealing. That's another story. But his sales went up 11% within a month.
Mm.
Actually, I said Mike's my first client. My first client was a Bayshores Peninsula Hotel in Newport Beach, California, and they
Mm.
were convinced that their rooms were $79 a night, and we just need to get more people in Sunday through Thursday because the weekends take care of themselves. And I said, people are going on vacation or they want to take the weekend off.
Mm.
That's where the money is. We can't bring people to Newport Beach. You know,
Mm.
what I mean, it's a small little hotel. You only have 25 rooms. You can't go through and have a big promotion like your Hyatt or Marriott.
Mm.
You've got to just be when they want to come, they choose us.
Correct.
So with them, I said, we've got to stop the discounts. And that room should be about 135 Monday through Friday.
Mm.
And we're going to bring it up to 199 on the weekends. They're like, you can't do this. I was like, oh,
Wow.
yes, we can. So we brought them up. And then that fueled a renaissance in the rooms. They could
Mm.
retrofit the rooms. And by the time I left, a weekend was $349 each night. I will,
Wow.
at the same time, we attracted a client. We were the number one hotel on TripAdvisor out of 350 hotels in all of Southern California, Orange County, California, which included the Four Seasons, the Ritz, and everything else, because all we spent time on was training the front desk and the housekeepers how to be engaging and how to have rapport. And again, that's the same system I teach now.
Mm.
So it doesn't matter if you're selling hardware or you're selling clothes or you're selling rooms. If you
Mm.
can't open your heart to another human being, you're going to have a tough time, and you're
Yeah.
going to keep going back to the discount saying,
Mm.
"Oh, we just need to be cheaper and cheaper." You're killing the whole reason you have a business. And
Correct.
so if you're not making enough money, whether you're a consultant or you're a retailer, whatever it is,
Mm.
do you believe in your own pricing?
Mm. Well said. I have time for two more questions for you.
Okay.
What lessons can luxury retail teach the mass market about customer experience?
Oh my goodness. Well, that's such a big question. The luxury market, you're selling a feeling.
Mm.
Products in a retail store or luxury store are far are merchandised, few on a rack to spotlight that. But you want that feeling, and I think what people miss is it doesn't matter what brand you have, whatever you're selling, Porsche sunglasses, you're selling, I don't know, Crocs or whatever it's going to
Hmm.
be,
Mm.
footwear. You're selling a feeling,
Mm.
and people who feel they matter buy.
Correct.
So while luxury sells that's the image of luxury.
Hmm.
I think most luxury retailers fall really hard on that and don't do a good job because they
Mm.
don't train their crews how to engage somebody.
Yeah.
They just sit back and felon pose with their hands behind their backs and just wait for you to talk to them.
Mm.
And that's not a fun experience. A fun experience is you're in there, you're buying something, the person gives you a little sass back and forth. You have a
Mm.
joke, you laugh or something, but it feels human. And I think that's where mass retailers, any retailer, can bring that same idea that your brand is you,
Correct.
right? It's not necessarily what's on the building. It's what, and as long as you understand that, you're going to have a great time. I have people
Absolutely.
in retail that make a great living and they love working with people, but they don't think that, oh, those people are above me and I'm down here. No, they're heroes selling to heroes. They're both heroes. That confidence is what matters, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Bob, my last question for you, and this is for the thousands of people who will listen to our conversation. If you could prescribe one retail health tip for every store in the world, what would it be?
Wow, that's one. Well, it's really simple. Make your employees' day so they make your customers. It doesn't work the other way around. It can't be I treat you like you're disposable. And like Target recently, just 2 days ago in the United States, had a memo that like everyone had to smile at customers and look them in the eye. And that's just so wrongheaded. That's like in training you might have talked about, but that smile comes from being genuine. That smile comes because they feel valued. If you've got their hours and their benefits,
Yeah.
and now you're going to tell them just go smile at those people, that doesn't land
Correct.
well,
Correct.
right? If you can make them feel like their family, and I don't mean working with family and hiring friends. That's not it. But if they feel like coming to work feels good, it feels like I'm empowered, it feels like I add something, then they're going to make your customers' day. So that's my big prescription is just make your
Absolutely.
employees' day, and they're going to make your customers.
Absolutely. And that is such a powerful tip. Simple yet very powerful. Make sure your employees are happy because they make your customer happy. But on that note, Bob, just want to say what a fascinating conversation this has been from a retail doctor, someone who understands retail business. I think everything that you said has so much depth to it, and yet it is so easy. And it's so obvious sitting in front of you, but you can't figure out that it is right there till you pointed it out. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.